Hello, welcome to another Office Hours for Jenkins X. Today we've got a couple of things. We're going to do a couple of status updates with a bit of a focus around the Jenkins X3 alpha that's there, a bit of see where we are with that at the moment, a bit of a round table. Also, probably a little bit of an update from some of the SIGs that are going on. If people aren't familiar, we've got Doc SIG that is on every Monday and a platform testing SIG, which is on a Friday as well. So we'll do a bit of an update there. And we've also got a demo from Vincent. Vincent's going to show us a little demo for about read-only pipeline viewer and logs as well. So I think everyone's pretty excited to see this. No pressure at all, but very looking forward to this. And we'll probably have some time, a bit of a round table as well, and any other questions, feedback, and a bit of a general chit chat. Shout out to Tracy. Tracy's actually linked through to the CDF. Am I right in saying there's a CDF booth for DevOps.com?
So if folks are at DevOps World and come to the CDF booth and they click join meeting for the next hour, they'll be joining us here at Jenkins X Office Hours. So welcome those who are joining for the first time. This is a regular session held every 2 weeks for the latest and greatest in Jenkins X. So yeah, just drop some questions in the chat and we can provide you links. But yeah, glad to have you join us.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. It's good to see so many people here as well. Don't be shy. Please shout out. It's a nice environment for everyone to talk to and collaborate and share with. Share any thoughts, any questions you have, please just shout. All right, to kick off, we could do maybe just 5 minutes on some, maybe a status update about the Jenkins X3 alpha. So for anybody that's not aware, there is probably more of a engineering focus around Jenkins X3. It is an alpha state at the moment. We're really pushing hard to get it to a beta state. And there's been some more developments. James, what have you been working on the last couple of weeks around this?
I've forgotten really. All sorts really. The Helm file-based previews was probably the main thing to get done. So the reason I had to do that was so that we could do on-premise. So we wanted to be able to do on-premise, any Kubernetes cluster and just work. That's been a kind of an aim for a while. Turns out that's quite complicated. And it turned out that by using GitHub's container registry, we can have a simple out of the box that, given no cloud infrastructure at all, just a Kubernetes cluster and access to GitHub. We managed to get that working, but then we needed to have image pull secrets needed to be there, because you can't do anonymous pulls from GitHub's container registry. You have to use your identity, which meant we had to finally fix image pull secrets everywhere for previews and for promotion and for releases and everything. To cut a long story short, we realized Helmfile was the easiest way of doing preview environments where we can do image pull secrets at the same time. So yeah, that seems to be working really, really well now. So we've got Helmfile based promotion, installation and previews now, which is, so we've squared the circle and we've got Helmfile everywhere now, which is awesome. And it's all Vince's fault.
Totally, but it's awesome. It's a great tool.
Finally got around to that enhancement proposal, but just for everyone to know that there is an enhancement proposal repository. Vincent put a proposal up there a little while ago. It's taken a little while to get there, but it's a great way of, for sharing ideas, thoughts, looking for feedback as well. So if you look at the enhancement repo on the Jenkins X org, if you're looking for some inspiration, but feel free to drop any thoughts or ideas you have down there, or reach out in the community channels as well if you want some more interaction on that.
One thing I've not tried yet, by the way, the really interesting thing about Helmfile-based previews is you just get a Helmfile YAML file and you can put anything in there, right? You put any charts you like in Supply Preview environment, which is great. You could also list charts from, say, staging. You could say, take 5 microservices from the staging cluster and deploy that in my preview and use the latest versions of whatever. One thing I've not tried is interesting. Version 2, we always had a specific namespace per preview environment. With Helmfile, you can specify what the namespace is in the Helmfile. So you could have a preview environment as a canary in a staging namespace or preview namespace. So you could have 3 previews deployed in the same namespace as canaries. which I've not tried yet. It might not even work,
Yeah.
but it would be an interesting thing to try canaries rather than completely separate previews if you choose to do so. But anyways, yeah, Handfile's rocking. It's really nice.
And that also opens up the door to have more experimental hypothesis-driven development stuff pre-merged into the main line, because you want to be able to deploying multiple things together, working together, looking at the behavior and seeing, coming up with what's the best scenario for your hypothesis, which is kind of cool. All these things that are now possible with V3, that it's kind of, it's making things a lot more easier to be able to do the things we wanted to do, the common problems that people have been, real world problems that people have been faced with over the last couple of years with Jenkins X2. Cool. It's worth having a shout out as well. So there's been some great work on the Terraform providers for Azure. So Chris and I think I think you might even be on the line. I think I might saw some quick starts being worked on and being deployed on an AKS cluster using the AKS modules for version 3, which is outstanding. Great stuff. And we've also, and then similarly with Ankit on EKS as well. So for other people that want to be getting involved, there are now working examples. Obviously there's more feedback that needs to happen and more testing and more automated testing, but it's really rocking. It's really great to see people actually giving this a go and getting involved and helping out there as well. So lots of areas for people to get involved, depending on which cloud platform you're familiar with. Probably we've updated the docs as well. So there is now 2 options for GCP. You can have either an installation totally through Terraform, which is then out of the box setup, which then automatically installs Jenkins X3 as well. So all via Terraform, which is quite nice. But we have, it's nice and configurable because of the external secrets layer we've got there. We can have either pluggable Google Secrets Manager or Vault. So it's nice and simple to be able to switch between the two. There was there was a diagram, maybe we can see that later, but if we've got time, there's a bit of a diagram we went through to show some of the conceptual areas around Jenkins X3, which maybe we can talk through later if people want to do that. All right then, okay, that's quite good. How about, I don't know who's best, maybe Cara, do you want to give a bit of an update on some of the docs here? Because there's been some interesting work and developments there, right?
Yes, so I'm not sure everyone's aware, but we have a doc SIG. It runs every single Monday afternoon in the UK. I think it's 13:30 UTC. It is on our calendar. So if you go to the Jenkins X doc site, in the community pages, we have an event calendar. I think I have the link here. You can find out more about joining that SIG, and it will also lead through to our repo for it, which has all our notes on HackMD. It's quite a happening SIG right now, not least because we have a Google Season of Docs participant who is working with us and is doing great work, joining the community, getting used to the project. He's just started, and he'll be working on building out a maturity matrix for Jenkins X3, which we're really excited about. Other people can contribute as well, both to the docs and to that maturity matrix. So I just saw in the chat, I'll just respond to this. We have a question, do we have any FAQ session in this call? In fact, the entire call, we will have demos as well and announcements, but the entire call really is an FAQ. So we want this to be open to the community to ask questions. So please do ask your questions. The other SIG we're running for Jenkins X is we have a testing and platform SIG, which has just started. We've had 2 meetings. It runs every other Friday. I think that's 1300 UTC. That is a very interesting SIG too. So we have a ton of work there and ideas and exciting new developments. And if you at all are involved in these office hours, you know how fun it is to talk to the Jameses. So for me in the testing SIG, it's like we talk about, oh, should we do this sort of linting? Should we do this sort of testing? And it's like, all these ideas of how you could do different architectures for our tests and stuff. So it's quite exciting if you're in general interested in testing, or especially for testing for Jenkins X. I'd recommend it. The other announcement we have, which I'm very excited about, is the CDF is running their conference, CDCon, on the 7th and 8th of October. And it's virtual, so remote. Anyone in the world can join. Tickets, I believe, are $25, but it is for good cause. So all of that money then is donated to various charities that help support underrepresented groups learning to code and join the industry. So we're very happy with that. I will be giving a talk on GitOps and secrets, basically going, very excited, going, brief overview of some of the ongoing difficulties of handling secret management with GitOps. And then we will be looking at how Jenkins X3 handles that problem and the solutions we've come up with there. So it should be a very good talk. Please do join. It would be great to see you all there. And it would be really great to see you in the SIGs. So definitely join those. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Tracy, about CDCon?
No, just come along. I think we're going to try and figure out how to have some more interactive sessions. So I'll be reaching out to the community maybe about a Jenkins X Birds of a Feather type session. So just get any fans and folks from the community together so we can either socialize, just meet new people, or just kind of pretend to try and recreate a little bit of in-person at the conference. So yeah, I'll keep you all posted, but yeah, book it out in your calendar, October 7th and 8th.
Brilliant. Okay, all booked in. Looking forward to it. Okay, Vincent, would you like to take over and tell us what you've been working on?
Yes, of course. So let me share my screen. All right. Yes, so let's talk about UI and Jenkins X. That's a good topic. So a bit of context first. So as you know, there used to be a proprietary UI from Cloudbees, JX UI, which has been, the development has been stopped a few weeks or months ago. So I was very happy to see that Jens started some work on an open source UI based on Octane. But unfortunately, it doesn't cover our needs, our use case. Like our use case is basically we are on a pull request and we have a failure, for example, and we have a comment by Lighthouse and just want to click, so there are no failure here. We just want to click on the link to see the output of the pipeline, the logs and the error, or see the log for a successful pipeline. And with Octane, you can't do that. Well, you can, but it's not really the purpose of the tool. Because I quickly found out there is no container image or Helm chart out there. And there is a very good reason for that. It's because it's not the purpose of the tool to be hosted as a web server. So as I said, so this is from one of the developers. He said, let me find it. It's an application which is intended to be used as a single client tool. There is no plan to support hosted version and so on. And at some point, it will eventually be packaged with a client like Electron or something like that. So that's not really what we were after. And there are other issues, like for example, when you have a lot of pipeline, it doesn't work. We have like around 1,000 pipeline because our garbage collector is run every 7 days. Well, it garbage collect pipeline which are older than 7 days. And we have like too many pipelines for the system. So there is a bug that hasn't been fixed yet around the max size of the message in a gRPC. So just it doesn't work. But that's not the big issue. The big issue is that it's not meant to be hosted on the web. And we wanted something simple and very fast to load. So we said, right, we can just build it. So that's what we did. Just a few hours of work. So don't be too excited about the demo because it's like we are sharing it early, but it's not very nice and so on. So I'll show you quickly. If I just click on the link, I can see the log like very fast, but that's it. So for the moment, it's yeah, there are not a lot of things in the UI because so it's on purpose because I wanted to keep things small and easy for other people to improve the UI. So we'll talk about that later. So yeah, it just shows the output of the logs. So that works for pipeline that are terminated. It also works for so yeah, we also have a UI yeah, a main view that can list all the pipeline, and we can quickly filter if I remember. Search for example, of the failed one, the release one, for a specific pull request, so things like that, for my pull request, and so on. And I can also have a look at the running pipeline. It's going to stream the log. So there is no auto scrolling for the moment. But yeah, you can get the live logs or you can get the log all at once. That's basically it. The very interesting thing is that it's very fast. So I'm going to show you the difference between the old GX UI and the new one. So if I try to load it on the GX UI, you can see that it takes a bit of a time to load. So I don't know exactly what it's doing. So we're going to wait a little. Yeah, done it. So yeah, 11 seconds to get the logs. If I do the same with our new UI, it's like right away. So that's good for us because we are tired of waiting like 10 seconds just for the logs to come. And yes, it's compatible with the GXUI URL. So if you want to enable it, you can just change the host name in the Lighthouse configuration, or you can even keep the same host and yeah, just replace it at the ingress level. Or, so basically, that's pretty much it. What I wanted to show. The code is very simple because so it's a Go application, and we are reusing code from the JX project. So, for example, to read the logs, we are using the buckets package from the GX project. So basically, there are not a lot of things in that repository. So the good thing about that is that it's using the same code that is also used by the GX CLI. So if you do GX get build logs, it's the same behavior that you will get with this UI. So yeah, no mystery, it's the same thing. And the same for the live logs. We are using the Tecton logger to get the running build logs. And then for the templating, we have right now it's Go templates. So with yeah, just Go templates that are generating HTML. But we're going to change that soon because we have someone in the team, Florian, who wants to work on it. So he already started. He's more of a front guy developer than me. And he already started to do some JavaScript, CSS, beautiful things, and he will do more work in the coming days and weeks. Yeah, so our short-term goal is to have something nice with some kind of visualization for the pipeline and better visualization, of the logs. For example, be able to collapse the logs per stage and per container steps, and so on. So yeah, lots of little things. So that's our short-term goal, to have something beautiful. But you can already use it right now because there is already a container image hosted on GitHub and chart too. So you can just helm install it, add it to your dev cluster and so on. And what? Yeah, sorry. One thing I forgot is that there is also a nice feature. Let me find it. So if I find an old build where the pipeline activity has been garbage collected, so this is a build that is old enough, like more than 7 days for us. Like GX UI, you just won't find it because the pipeline activity has been garbage collected. But in our setup, we can still get the logs. So we'll only have the logs, no information about the pipeline. So we don't know when it was started, how long it lasts, and so on. But at least we have the logs, so that when you are on GitHub in an old pull request where the pipeline activity has been garbage collected, you can still, so the link will still be valid. It won't be a 404. You can still get the logs. So it's very minimalist because you won't get like you can't know anything, but at least you get the logs. What else did I forget?
That's awesome, by the way. We could modify the JX code to also store the pipeline activity as YAML in the bucket.
Yes, that was something I was thinking about, exactly, yeah. To start get. Yeah.
That'd be easy, yeah. No, this is awesome, well played.
Lots of little things, yes, you can do to improve that. For most pull requests, we don't really care for most build. In fact, what is really interesting is for the release pipeline. And yes, and it's read-only. So our goal is to not to try to do something complex with operation like rerun a pipeline or something like that, because that's operation we can already do with CLI or with chat-ups in GitHub. So like we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Yeah, just get something simple, focused on showing the pipeline, showing the logs. Yeah, exactly. Yes, so about our goals. So short-term goals have something beautiful beautiful UI, and maybe a longer term goal if this project is successful and if there is an agreement from the community, is to give it to the Jenkins X community. So migrate it to Jenkins X organization on GitHub and reuse the Jenkins X infrastructure to build it and so on, so that it can be packaged by default when you install Jenkins X. So you get a UI by default installed with the other component.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think.
Just a question. I think I mean, this looks great, Vincent. What have you? If it's using the Jenkins, it might be a question for you or for others. One of the challenges we've always had with Jenkins X own infrastructure is not being able to open up the logs really to community folks, because there's a concern that we could leak a secret. So I know that there's been some basic kind of masking that we've tried to do within Jenkins X. Now that may already be applied in the JX bucket call that you're making. I don't know if it is, but even then I think it was fairly basic. I wondered if you've seen anything, or if anybody has seen anything that can kind of do masking of sensitive information, not necessarily wanting information we know about, but do you see what I mean? Have you had any thoughts around that?
Yes, yeah, I see what you mean. So in fact, it's done by the controller build, which is storing the logs on the GTS bucket or whatever bucket. So yes, when we get the log in the UI, yeah, it's obfuscated. In our case, we don't really care because in fact, we are hosting it behind the authentication proxy. So it's not open on the for the public. So yeah, we don't really care, but yeah, I see what you mean. And yeah, for the moment, the obfuscation system has been a little more a pain than a good thing, because it's obfuscating stuff like JX or something like that. So at the time when you see 2-star, you know, oh, that's JX something. But yeah.
Yeah, it would be good if anybody has any thoughts or on their travels of any other OSS projects or just anything, any libraries that might help with anonymizing sensitive data, then that would be really, I think that would be really helpful, because I think, yeah, there's some basic stuff in there, but there's still, say, service accounts that could then accidentally get leaked and committed to Git and various things. So each thing there appear in logs as well. But that's kind of separate for this. This all looks great, by the way.
Good, thanks.
Does anybody have any questions for Vincent?
So I'm reading the question at the same time.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, maybe if there are some other questions as they go along.
Yeah. So
sorry.
Yeah. One more thing. Yeah. Sorry. One more thing. So if there are people interested in contributing, please feel free to say so, like in the Slack channel or wherever you want, or create issue in the project or whatever. Florian is also here. He'll be working on it in the coming days and weeks. So yeah, if you have idea or whatever, just shout out. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. I think someone's coming off mute. Are you going to speak?
Yeah. Hi everyone. So I'm basically new to Jenkins X, and I'm working for an organization in India. So we had a previously we had a complex CI structure. We had lots of repos in almost every technology. We work in most of the technologies, and we have different repos for each technologies. So what we have a Jenkins CI infrastructure already been built in, and we have a complex CD structure of Helm chart. We have custom Helm chart deployment structure for CD structure for ourselves. So now we thought to move into Jenkins X because we saw it's very interesting, and it can reduce time to market, and that's what our company is targeting now. So I started around 2 or 3 weeks ago with Jenkins X2 version, and one thing which we were seeking on Jenkins X and we were having trouble with that, which was that we wanted to have to run custom code during the steps before build. Whenever you are writing a build step to build your images, we wanted to run an arbitrary function in Groovy that was easy to instantiate an object and call whatever function, whatever complex code you could do. But here we wanted the whole script which does calculate something to evaluate the tags of our images, Docker images. So that is a complex function. So we wanted that something, if we can keep those scripts somewhere in a Git repo, and we can clone or whatever, or we can bake into existing Docker image. So we wanted some kind of solution for that. So we asked on Slack channel, there we got that we can host it on a container itself, and we can call that script. So in 2X, we were working on Azure. I mentioned, forgot to mention that. We were working on X with Azure. So we had a problem that with ACR, we were not able to pull out private repositories or containers without images from our private ACR repositories. So we thought we can go for public repositories. So we created a public Docker image in Docker Docker Hub. But once the container was running on a step, whatever the script I had copied to the container was automatically removed. Though I haven't had any external volume mounting step and anything like such, but all the script which I had copied to the container, I'm using that container in my steps of my pipeline, CI pipeline. Well, I was not able to find those in my storage of that container volume. Though the same image, if I am running with Docker daemon in my local, I'm able to see after getting into that container. So I was having that issue, and I'm having a hard time with that. Now I saw that, yeah.
A quick question, the location in the container, steps in Tecton, there's a bunch of folders or directories which are mounted. So irrespective of what's in the container, A bunch of volumes are mounted by Kubernetes at different paths. So, for example, don't use /home and don't use /workspace, because those are pretty much, and yeah, definitely home and workspace. So use anything else than those two, and you should be okay.
I have tried the user directory as well, and I have copied script there as well. And I have also tried it with different folders, and I also did tried the find command to find my script in all the folder present in that Docker container. It was not able to find that script as well. So there is something going.
Yeah, well, I wonder if maybe you could pop on the dev channels kind of after this, and maybe give the image, and we can try and get a reproducer. That might be the quickest way to see if we can diagnose what's going on.
It's worth checking as well when you run Octant and look at the pipelines running. When you see a step that you think should have your image inside and should have the file, you can click in Octant and it will tell you exactly the container image for every step. Because it could be that you think it's using the image, but it's not. Or it could be related to volume mounts. All the volume mounts are listed in Octant. The image is listed in Octant, so you know exactly what image it is, what the volume mounts are. But all the text on step is literally just vanilla Kubernetes stuff. So you can look in Kubernetes and see exactly what's going on. There's no like weird magic that's transforming container images. It's literally using Kubernetes pods and volume mounts. Another trick, by the way, add a sleep. Override the command in the pipeline to use a sleep, and then kubectl exec inside the pod, and have a little look on the file system. Which is a good way to diagnose issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and one small query, and we are also thinking that how comfortable will be to go with Jenkins X Alpha with Azure. Would you think it will be good option?
It's probably
right now?
way more compliant than V2 on Azure. So I definitely go V3 if you're on Azure. And V3 is getting much more stable quickly. We're not quite sure when we're going to be beta, but hopefully it's not too far away. So yeah, I would definitely go for V3.
Okay, and I haven't seen any setup and all the thing for Azure, but I have seen a repository specific for Azure, and I started from there reading that. That will be okay, I think, for installation and then setting up of Jenkins in that cluster. Is it the right approach?
Yeah. We're working on a maturity model right at the moment, which hopefully, I think Nitin is working on this week. So we hope that's going to go some way to actually help work out how far we are along the alpha journey as we get to beta and then GA. So there'll be some high level ideas around that. There's a few things that there are gaps. It is an alpha, so depending on where you need to get to. But as James said, there are certainly it's addressed a whole load of issues that we were having with V2 that we know about. That's not to say that there isn't issues with the alpha, but it's just to set expectations. That's where we're heading. That's where the engineering focus is around. So it's definitely, if you're able to give that a go and give some feedback as well and help us build that out, that'd be fantastic.
Okay. One thing which took our attention to move to 3 was that it support passing the image pull secret for your registries or your images. We thought we can achieve that now with Alpha.
So I think you mentioned on Slack using image pull secrets in pipelines themselves, which I don't think we've done terribly well before, but image pulling on previews and promotion and in dev staging and production, that's all working. We had to get all of that working for the on-premise BDD test. To support image pull secrets on pipelines, I think we might need to use custom Tecton pipelines for those. So that's maybe a couple of weeks out to support that. Unless we can figure out an easy fix for V2. But for V3, we'll need custom Tecton pipelines for that. But Tecton does support that. There's a pod template in a Tecton pipeline that you can specify image pull secrets.
Yeah, I gone through their document where I saw that they have to populate it in a config.json file from where they read that image pull secret. But Docker, the ACR we have for ACR, we have to create a secret of JSON type or different type. And in Kubernetes, the key name starts with dot notification, dot docker. That is something like that key name.
Hang on, that's the Docker config stuff. Are you sure you're talking about image pull secrets? Or are you talking about Docker config JSON? Because Docker config JSON is more about authenticating with a registry than an image pull secret. There's two different secrets. One is specifically to pull container images, which is used by your node. And the other secret is used to be able to read and write from the container registry when you're building images. So there's two very different things. If it's can you read and write container images in a build step, that's the Docker config, which is supported right now in Jenkins X. And
that is working fine. That is working fine.
Right.
I'm talking about the pipeline step where we want to use the container image from private repository.
Yeah, that's still a known issue, I think, in V3. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll follow up on those issues up on Slack, and that'll be great as well.
Sure,
Thanks for that. So I guess there are quite a few people on the call, which is great. I don't know, but there's obviously a fair amount of talk and focus around V3. I don't know if it's worth a fairly overview. There was a tweet, James, you sent out a tweet this week, didn't you, talking about some of the areas that we've been doing. Is it worth, I wonder if it's worth spending 5 minutes around that diagram, unless people had any other things that they wanted to talk about.
Are you about to share the diagram? Which is awesome, by the way. Well played for doing the diagram.
Well, I'll take that. No, there is. So it's driven by Kai on the call here, holding the mantle of chief drawing person at the moment until he dusts off his gloves again. But we have using Whimsical, let's have if anybody's not familiar with this is where the JX3 docs are. So there's a landing point up here, the 3 alpha. And there is an about now, so this is building up. Keep an eye on it. So every couple of days, there's more that's been built up here, and there's people have been involved in adding to this as well. There is an overview. Oh, this is a cool thing as well. I was playing with this, by the way, and I think this is from Nithin. This is the dark theme that got added this week. So there is an overview here. It's a little bit small. Let's zoom into this. Some of the main focuses that this diagram is aiming to show is a bit of an overview of where we're going with V3. It's not a complete guide, but it's really just to highlight some of the efforts that's been going ahead. One of the key things as well is around the JX CLI is being pretty much rewritten, certainly massively refactored, and then split out into different subcommands. Each of these subcommands are actually using a plugin model, so that each of these actually represents its own releasable Git repository. So every single subcommand in JX is very extensible, which is really kind of one of the things that's been really hard in developing and working with Jenkins X2, trying to attract extra contributions and extend it as well. So that's kind of one of the real great things that they're refactoring down of the CLI. So folks that have been used to working on Jenkins X2, take a look at this, because it's hopefully, well, I think everyone that's worked on it so far is feeling it's a lot easier to work with and get your head around. Some of the idea around this is that there is the UX around the CLI, and Vincent maybe will be able to get the pipeline viewer UI in here as well sometime soon. We've also got Octant, where we're going to be building up, there's views here. Currently, there's an effort around building up health views, so health of an installation, health of secrets, health of Jenkins X in general, health of the cluster. All of this, this is the developer experience there. We're trying to get these separations of concerns that really help people actually, as a community, everyone would be able to maintain this and develop and build on top of Jenkins X3. Of course, this is fairly familiar for a lot of people that know Jenkins X. It's built on to be deployed server-side into the cluster. We've installed Tecton, we installed Lighthouse for the SCM triggers and chat ops. A Git operator, which is new. I don't know, James, do you want to give a quick TLDR of some of these?
We've always struggled with the complexity of people running the installation process and boot on their laptops, and also running it inside the cluster. And sometimes you get differences when you run it on your laptop than running it in the cluster, because you'd have different operating system, a different version of Git, different version of kubectl, and various other things. So we really wanted to run the install and upgrade process of Jenkins X itself inside the cluster. So we use this very small, very simple thing called a Git operator, which literally just watches the Git repository for your cluster. Whenever there's a commit, it runs a little job, which is defined in Git. And that job runs the boot process, which essentially does kubectl apply of whatever's in Git. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but it's not that much more complicated than that. So it basically takes the Helm file from Git, turns it into YAML, and does a kubectl apply, kind of. There's a little bit more involved with secrets and various other things like ingress and whatnot, but that's kind of what it does.
And then once we've also got Cuba Healthy, which is, I mean, this is a bit of work in progress at the moment, but again, this is going to provide a nice way to people to be able to extend their own views, whether that's in Octant or whether maybe through the CLI plugins as well, to be able to get more information about the health of their own applications. But we're going to be shipping some nice views and some nice health metrics within Jenkins X itself fairly soon. And there's an abstraction there where we're trying to make sure we've got these different lines of different responsibility. Terraform has been fantastic to be able to manage all of the infrastructure that Jenkins X needs for a successful installation. And then we've also, as James mentioned on previous office hours, around the GoDaddy Kubernetes external secrets, which is being a nice abstraction layer between different secrets providers. So you can write secrets, store them in different secret providers. That's Vault, Google Secrets Manager. There's a big list on the website here. And then ultimately then synchronizes, this controller here will synchronize into those secrets into Kubernetes secrets. And then, yep, this is the cloud platform. So GCP, AWS and Azure, which is coming along really great already, and with more to come. And these are the secrets management. So it's kind of really super high level, but you can see where we've got a lot more structure around Jenkins X3, areas where people can kind of get into, familiarize yourselves and get involved as well. The extension areas of Jenkins X3 is much cleaner as well. So hopefully that's going to help with things as well. Was there any questions on any of that? If not, that's cool. There's again, there's the community channels. So there, just reach out and start. Maybe if anybody has any questions or thoughts, anything at all, then just please mention it on Slack and we'll reach out.
Yeah, I've got a question about X3. So it's about the promotion. So we've been running like promotion a bit differently at Dailymotion since the beginning, because we use M-file since the beginning to have our own custom promotion to different clusters. So what we are doing differently is that when we promote a release, we are creating the staging pull request as usual, which is merge. So it's deploying to staging automatically. But we are also creating the production pull request at the same time, but not merging it. Which means that to deploy to production, we don't run the jxpromote command that will create the pull request because it has already been created. Instead, we just have to go on GitHub and merge the pull request or approve it. Yeah, I wanted to know if you have plans in X3 to revisit the promotion workflow. And
yeah, I think that's a great idea. Always create the pull request and use like labels or something to say like, this can't be merged until it's approved or something like that, and use approval logic, whatever that might be, you know, chat ops or human approval, or you have to click merge or whatever that logic is. I think that's a much cleaner way of doing it. Yeah. I think that's a much cleaner way than, like, manual promotion sucks, really. It's horrible.
I know.
So yeah, I think that's a great idea. Let's just do it.
What we are doing with GitHub is that we are creating draft pull request for production. So draft pull request can be merged.
Yeah, let's just do that. Let's do a draft pull request on production. And let's just add a flag on environments as to whether it's a draft or not. Yeah, let's do that. That's perfect.
So there is a, you may not have already seen it, but there is a, because that plugin, the commands that's mentioned earlier, there is a JX promote repo that's specifically for promote. So maybe it's worth popping an issue there and we can try and sort of riff in on there.
It should be very easy to make that change. We just need a flag to know whether to use draft or not. And we've always used auto promotion in the past. So we could say everything's auto promotion and we just decide which environments are draft environments. So we just need to add a flag to environment, really, for draft promotion. That's a great idea, by the way. I really like it. Do you ever wonder, so by default, when we create pull requests, if there's already a pull request with a certain label, we'll reuse the same pull request.
Yes,
so
that's what we're doing.
And so do you want to use the same pull request? So for example, if I promote version 1, if I then do version 2, you want to change the production pull request, which isn't approved, to version 2, right? You don't two pull requests in production.
Yeah, so what we have, is something configurable, because some projects want to have some way of doing it and some another way of doing it. So yeah, if it can be a configuration setting, it's good. What we did at the beginning was reusing the same pull request, but recreating the commit. First, we rebase it and we force push, so it's always one commit, and we erase whatever was in it, just to be sure it's rebased on master. And, but in fact, it was not a good idea, because sometimes some people will add some other commit in that pull request. For example, at the same time as they're updating the version, they want to change or to add a new value for the end chart and so on. So that was lost. So instead, they had to do another pull request and so on. So right now, what we are doing is that we are just adding commits on top of the same pull request. Yeah, and let people merge it, rebase it. Or...
Yeah, I think we maybe just need to ponder a little bit on the issue. How much configuration do we need? Like, reuse the commit, reuse the pull request and just do an extra commit, or rebase and possibly lose, or have separate pull requests if you want, or specify the labels used to find the previous pull requests. Because we tend to use labels right now to find the old one.
Yeah.
And so if ever you want to split, you could always just delete the label. So if ever you say, I want to force it to make the next pull request new, you just remove the label, and then the next promote will be a new pull request. So I think if we just figure out what is the ideal configuration for those different permutations,
I can write,
to implement.
Yeah, I can write an issue with our experience, and
that's awesome. That's a great idea. I really like the idea of doing draft pull requests. I think that's brilliant. And so many people have problems with JX promote, by the way, or the command line. So I think just always creating pull requests is a much cleaner way of doing it, because you can always close them, right? You can always say, oh, we're never going to deploy that version in production, we're going to close it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do that, you don't have to build some tools to run the JX promote command and so on.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well played.
That also does as well. If once we can get better CI validation on there as well. So once it creates the pull request, any further ones before they get merged into the main line, then get tested together or validated together. So yeah, I mean, we kind of do that with libraries already at the moment that we have on the Jenkins X own build info. The promotion is a pull request. And then we keep them there until we're ready to merge. So sounds good.
Yeah,
Awesome. There's 8 minutes left. Has anybody else got, there's tons of people on this call. Has anybody else got any thoughts, feedback, questions?
James, did you want to give an overview of how Jenkins X is approaching its plugins architecture?
Which James?
James.
I was thinking Rawlings, but either one.
I'll jump in very quickly.
Okay.
One of the challenges with Jenkins has always been there's so many repositories everywhere and it's hard to find everything. So we were thinking of moving all of the Jenkins X3 plugins into a separate organization. So it's just all the plugins. So if you want to work on just the plugins, because there's a lot of things. There's pipeline libraries, there's charts, there's all kinds of different things in Jenkins X. But specifically the command line and the command line plugins, we're going to move that into a Jenkins X plugins GitHub organization. So that if you want to work on any of the plugins, and the plugins are quite like a Jenkins plugin if you squint and you forget that there's no Java and it's all in Golang, in that each plugin is completely separate, each plugin has a name and can own its own command line within that name. So it's kind of similar to the idea of Jenkins plugins where a plugin owns its own kind of space and can do whatever it likes. And right now all the plugins are basically independent of each other. So the preview plugin does previews, the promote plugin does promotion, the admin plugin does administration, and so on and so forth. So we're hoping to get a nice plugin ecosystem going soon where anybody can just find a plugin they want to hack on, like promotion. You can hack on the JX promote plugin, or you can write a new plugin if you want to do promotion in a different wacky way that's totally different, but you feel like a different plugin would be better, crack on. So yeah, we're hoping to get that up and running on the website this week, hopefully. So it's easy to discover plugins, work on plugins, hack plugins. Ultimately, we want a quick start so you can just create your own plugin from scratch and it will just all kind of work and build and deploy and everything. Hopefully soon.
Added to that as well. So the actual they are binaries themselves that get built. So it's nice when you're developing on them. You can actually test out locally the changes as long as it's on the path, and you can actually you can call directly those plugins, which is nice. But then also if you want to be able to upgrade plugins, then they all have their own release cycle. So which is quite nice. You have a JX upgrade CLI and there's a JX upgrade plugins as well, and you get all the nice versions and everything that you get pulled down. So that's also quite nice. So things are a lot cleaner and nicer to be able to work in with Jenkins X3, the CLI. Five minutes left.
Yeah, I've got another question about the special interest group. So what's do you have more information about them and when you're
Yeah, I mean so one thing we've not done too well in the past is and where other projects do well is these special interest group. As Jenkins X is growing and it's growing quite fast, always lots of different areas where we want to get more focus on and have them more running themselves, a bit more with a bit more of a roadmap themselves, and then that falls into the greater picture of Jenkins X. So with these lines of separation that we've talked about with Jenkins X3, it's really going to help us have these specialized interest groups. Because of the urgency and focus around Jenkins X3, we want to kind of get that through to beta and GA as a priority. Ultimately, with the special interest groups kicking off at the same time, but not to detract away from the focus of Jenkins X3. So at the moment, we've got a doc SIG on the Monday, as Para was saying, a platform and testing SIG on the Friday. But as we go along, we want to have more, whether that's extensions potentially, or or looking at maybe a release in SIG. At the moment, the infrastructure is hosted by Cloudbees, but over time, we want to be able to move that into probably hosted by the CDF, for example. So there's a few things we've got there, but it's going to be any suggestions people have, and I think are going to be, it'd be good for people to feed into those and see where the gaps are and where the right time is to introduce these SIGs without kind of detracting away with the focus for JX3.
Definitely, and we would like people to engage with the SIGs, and you do not need to feel that you are an expert in these areas at all. Like, really, please come along. We're happy to share our knowledge, answer your questions, you know, build the engagement, and then, you know, you'll be writing plugins before you know it, Ashtel. But, and in addition, if there is a SIG that you are interested in creating, something specific you would like a work stream on, we welcome that as well. So yeah, please come along, get involved. We're really happy to have you.
Awesome. I can see there's a couple of people taking off their mics and then putting them back on. Go on, go for it. You've got 2 minutes. Nope. Okay. Well, in that case then, let's wrap this up. That's an hour-long office hours. That was fantastic. Vincent, thank you so much for sharing. I think that's very exciting, what the demo you've done, and look forward to the collaboration and people more seeing where that goes as well. But great demo. Thank you very much. And a shout out to everybody that's never been to an office hours before. This is great. We hope to see you again. It can be, we talk about lots of things and let it flow fairly organically. Maybe we can try and, as more and more people join, maybe we can put together a bit more structure. Or if you have thoughts, subject areas beforehand, drop them down onto the office hours Google Doc, which you can find on the website, so that we can make sure that we cover those off as well. And as always, it's just great to see so many people, and go Jenkins X, go Jenkins X3. Okay, thanks ever so much, everybody. See you all soon.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.